right. Thank you so much, and welcome to the first ever podcast for New Life 2023. All right. So we have a dynamic guest today. So the first guest is Lloyd Lewis Jr. Tell us about yourself.
Of course. My name is Lloyd P. Lewis Jr. I'm a registered nurse. My specialty is ICU critical care. From New Orleans, aspiring to be a medical doctor.
You got it.
And this is my first cousin.
That's right.
When I found out that he was diagnosed with stage, well, I didn't know the stage, but when he was diagnosed with cancer, my nurse sense kicked in. And also, I had to try to not be emotional because he's my family member. It's kind of hard.
So you mentioned that it was kind of hard. And I know that it definitely was a lot for you because you mentioned that your mom passed away from a brain tumor. Your aunt passed away just 4 short years ago. How did it feel getting this news from you about your cousin? And here we are, you're still processing trauma.
I say, God damn, here we go again. I was given limited information, of course, because, who knows about this stuff and, what it entails and stuff like that. But the little information that I did get, I kind of partially concluded that, okay, they don't believe that he'll survive this form of cancer. But of course, I didn't say it like that to him, I just acted concerned or whatnot. As far as the trauma, I don't know, PTSD, hey.
But how did you, I know that the nurse kicked in. And Eric, you can also tell us, how did you feel when because I'm sure Lloyd is the type of person pretty much is going to tell you what he feels, how he feels. So what did you share with your cousin Lloyd when you found out about it? What was that process? Did he send you, did he sit you down and tell you, did he send you over medications? Explain that process to me.
Well, he basically told me that he was diagnosed with the scans showed an extensive form of cancer.
I didn't tell him. We didn't know the stage. Remember, I didn't.
Right, he didn't know the stage. I don't think he didn't know the stage.
I didn't know nothing about it.
Right?
No, I didn't know anything about it. When I just sent you over what they sent me, and he went and looked at it and did his due diligence and everything on it. When he came back, I could tell his tone kind of changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like he got more serious. We always have like a joking relationship, laughing relationship, joking relationship, and he was kind of like, his tone changed. It got like monotone, and so that alerted me to be like, well, okay, something's going on. So he's telling me something. He's trying to act the same one way, but I knew it was just different. It was just something different about it. That's all, and that's why I knew I had to take it serious at that point.
I went into work mode.
Yeah, that's what it was.
When you say you went into work mode, define that. How can you? It's hard going into work mode when you're dealing with your family. So what did work mode look like for you when you were dealing with your cousin? Because I'm sure in your mind it might have been, here I go again.
Mm-hmm.
You process losing family members. And, when you're a nurse, especially with the level of intensity that you have in this field, you're probably trying to figure out, how am I going to save, not another family member?
That's exactly what I thought. I had done a lot of research on, the other natural holistic doctors and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of try to give him that, you got to go this way, you got to go holistic. I promise you, because the other stuff don't work. It doesn't work. So you got to go, please.
And I said, I ain't no hope, and I ain't no listic. I ain't no holistic, like Holly would say. But yeah, side note. But anyway, yeah, he gave me a whole kind of stuff like milk thistle, glutathione, whatever it is. But I took it. I took it diligently every morning. I took it and everything like that. So, it kind of where I looked up some of the stuff. Some of the stuff I was like, I don't know about that, but you know what I'm saying.
But my biggest concern was I didn't want this to be yet another case because of the ignorance in our community about medication, medically stuff. I didn't want this to be another situation as to where, okay, and he didn't know. So didn't beat the cancer.
Right. Yeah.
So I didn't tell him that I think you're not gonna make it. Look, I just acted like it.
Well, we're talking about some natural remedies.
Not acted.
But what about those? What he was prescribed? Like, do you recall some of those medications that you were taking?
I think it was a Brexit.
Cisplatin?
Cisplatin, Brexit, and some kind of the some I don't know. It was pretty strong, powerful cancer
And they were-
medication.
And the medications that they were giving him were indicated for patients who have
In the life
3 to 5 years that they expecting to not live longer than 3 to 5 years. So when I saw that, I said, okay.
And the amount of time that they gave it to me was like they really pumping you right because it's I got slammed. I did all the treatment. I got when I finally got. Well, first of all, I had a rare condition called carcinoma, cholangiocarcinoma, which is bile duct cancer, liver cancer. And I started out with 3 other tumors besides the cancer. It was a cancer on my liver. And I had 3 other kinds of cancers. 3 other tumors throughout my body metastasized, and I had no idea of what it was or what was going on. So when I seen it, they were like, when I first got diagnosed, how I stumbled upon it, how I discovered that I even had cancer, period, was that I had a surgery in 2020 for this condition I have called achalasia, which is I couldn't swallow a whole food down, a whole water down, anything. I was throwing it up every time I eat. I would eat at a restaurant. Now I would have to excuse myself and go throw up in the bathroom or whatever and come
You
back.
get the Botox injections, right?
Yeah. So I got dilated with that. They put the tube down, did Botox injections in my throat. So I finally had a laparoscopic duodenum something when they go in and they reroute your system, your whole
Laparoscopic.
Yeah, all that system and everything. And so I had that, and I was on a liquid diet for like 8 weeks, and that cured the problem. So that was in 2020, and it was a year. My doctor told me, he said once he did that, I would never be able to throw up again, regurgitate again. So it's about a year later, and I'm sleeping, and I had a meal, and it just choked me out of my sleep. I threw up. I woke up and I threw up that night, and I called my doctor the next day. And I said, hey, Doc, I thought you said I would never throw up again. I did in my sleep, and it almost choked me out. And he told me that he wanted me to come and do some tests and further see what was going on. He wanted to look back inside and see, what was going on. So he did that. He sent me to get an ultrasound on my gallbladder. And he said it was nothing really wrong with the gallbladder, but he didn't like what he seen. So he's going to send me to get an MRI. And boom, I found out I had a 10 centimeter, what is it? Centimeter, millimeter, what is it?
Tumor, area of growth.
So it was like a 10 centimeter, a millimeter growth on my liver, which was equivalent to the size of a softball, he said. So once he found that out, he sent me immediately. He was on vacation, so to speak. My doctor was when he did the test, and when he got the results, he was on vacation. So I got the results first on my chart, and I saw it, and I showed my friend, and she read it, and she immediately called her friend, which worked for the National Cancer Society in Newnan, Georgia. She called her, read her the results, and they asked, was I at work? And she said, no, he's standing in front of me. And he's like, well, he need to get to the ER right now and stuff like that. He has, quote unquote cancer. So I'm like, oh, snap. Let me see what's going on. Let me call my doctor back. But by him being on vacation, I talked to his nurse, and she said that he would get in touch with me. He's aware of what's going on, and that he would get in touch with me as soon as possible. It was a Friday evening when I got the results, so I didn't talk to my doctor until Sunday night. He called me back, and that's when he gave me the news. He said, hey buddy, how's it going? I said, it's going okay. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't do nothing for those days, and just worried. And he said, you got a tumor on your liver. And I asked him, I said, Dr. O'Reilly, I said, is that a good thing or a bad thing? He said, well, it's not a good thing, but he says, I do have a friend that's an oncologist, and she's one of the best in the business. And I'm going to get you over there. We're going to set up a biopsy for you and get you in as soon as possible and get you over there and get you looked at. I had a biopsy on July 21st. So my doctor was out of town. She was in Germany. My oncologist, he was out, who you referred me to, she was out of town. Her name is Dr. Carmen Class. She's a 5-star. I looked her up. She's a 5-star oncologist. And everybody, she's a caring doctor and everything. You read about it, she really cares about her patients. The patient is just not, it's not another number that she really cares for you, which she does. But anyway, I didn't know, whatever. So she was in Germany visiting her mother, and she already had the biopsy set up for me. I had it on the 21st. So she got back to town. I went to see her on the 23rd of July, and she read the scans and everything to me and told me what was going on. She asked me did I want to see him. I said no. She said, well, we gotta start on you. We gotta start right now. So he said, okay. She told me, she suggested I go get a COVID vaccine immediately. She said if I had, at this point, if I had COVID or anything like that, I wouldn't survive. So I immediately left there, got a COVID vaccine, and then I had my port placed in. She told me that I had to have a port in, which I didn't know any of what that was. I didn't know nothing about nothing. So
you called me?
I called my cousin. Yeah, I did. I asked him, I said, man, what's going on? I said, this is what's happening. And he said, well, send me the info. And I sent him the info. And he didn't call me back. So I knew something was going on. So I guess he was putting it all together. So I'm like, it's taking him a little bit too long to call me back and let me know what's going on. And I finally got word from him. And I guess he looked it up and everything. And he knew what was going on, but he never did tell me. Nobody told me. So I went and got the port placed on August the 2nd. He just told me, just go ahead and do it. He said, just go and do what you need to do. So I had that placed on August the 2nd. I started chemo treatments on August the 9th. And I was on a pretty high dosage of chemo medication, one of the three strongest drugs that's on the market. And I was doing 8-hour chemo a day. I was doing chemo.
And remember they kept extending it. Well, they extended it twice, right?
Right.
Supposed to do 3 sessions or something, and then they went to
right.
6.
Then they went to 6 sessions.
And I was like, no, I hate chemo doesn't work.
Yeah, he was going in. He was going in. So it was once I did the chemo, I said, well, let's give it a try. So it even got to a point to where he was so nervous every time I have a chemo treatment, he would call me and by me being
I asked you, what's the first thing I asked you? How you feel?
Yeah. You asked me how you feeling. I said, man, I'm good. But for the first one, I really felt like after the first one, I felt good a day or so after, but then the next day I went really down. I lost weight. I started losing weight, and it just took.
Your first treatment, the first couple of rounds, you were good, but then after the third, I remember you were like really, it took you down.
It was the second one.
The second one, yeah.
It was the second one that took me down. The second one took me almost out of here. Like I was like, I didn't know what was going on. I was like, whoa, Jesus! It was like something I've never experienced. Like, as far as pain wise, as far as like just the body control, just the functions of just the natural things, just like walking to the restroom, just like using the restroom. I had neuropathy. My hair started falling out. My facial hair started falling out. Everywhere, everything on me started falling out. But yeah, so I went through that for like I went through that from August the 9th. I had my first chemo treatment on August the 9th, and I had my last December 15th. I had 6 cycles, 12 treatments, and numerous hydration sessions.
So tell me, I want to understand something. So did you feel like at any point, like impending doom, or like, am I going to survive this, or, how, like, what's the outcome of this? Like, did you ponder that?
Absolutely. At first I did. But absolutely. When you hear people saying, get your affairs in order, when they're telling you to get your affairs in order, talk to your kids, make sure your will is straight, make sure you have a, what is they call when you sign at the hospital?
Advance directive.
Yeah, advance directive. Do I have an advance directive? Would I consider something to happen to me while I'm receiving chemo treatment? I didn't understand that part of it. I'm like, well, I thought it was supposed to help you. They said, I decided a way of saying that, if I pass away during chemo treatment, they're not held liable for it. And I'm like, pass away? I'm like, so yeah. But as far as, when you lay alone at night, especially when you're going through chemo treatments, and you lay alone at night, or if I had a pretty good support system around me, I would say, that always kept me going, kept me moving and stuff, didn't give me a chance. But when they were around me and I was just had those moments when I was alone, yeah, I did say I was faced with the thought of my own mortality.
So what about like when you were actually in the clinic? Because patients have told me that it feel like acid or something burning when you getting the chemo, like you can feel it.
Oh man, yeah, man. It's to me like like my thought process and my mindset is always to be it's fight or flight. You know what I'm saying? Being an ex-athlete and stuff like that is always you got to deal with adversity as tough as much as you can. You never give in.
And it's cultural.
But it was times when I felt like I couldn't go. Like I'm like, how much more can I take? Like you had to like. I used to try to put my mind into places like paradise, like Hawaii, or being on a cruise, or being in the Caribbean or Jamaica and stuff like that. But when it really feels like hell, you know what I'm saying? It's burning your soul. It burns your bones. It burns your bone bristles. It's like somebody has a match on the inside of you, just holding it on you, and it's not stopping. It's not stopping. It's just constantly burning.
And then you say, like when you were receiving chemo one time, a patient expired right next to you.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
he was getting chemo.
We've had they call it I guess death is in the room. I mean, I guess that's what some of us survivors were saying, and we were saying like we had a visit from death, like death sat right next to us and didn't even know it. So I had this guy's older gentleman. He was just talking to me, and he's like, he's sick. He's like, I'm sick of this chemo shit. And he said, if I have my way, I'll just go right now or whatever. And he wouldn't let him put it in his chest no more. He was tired of getting the port, to stick it in the chest, so to, receive his meds and do his blood. So he wanted it in his veins, but he was an older guy, and all his veins were blown. Right. So he had him to do it anyway. As soon as they put it in his veins, and as soon as they turned the medication on, he expired right in front. He just started shaking and collapsed and expired right in front of me. Like I was like,
and you guys were like, death has visited the room, like was somebody dead?
Yeah, wow. and the nurses tried to console us. Well, not to console us, and they asked me, did I want to move and stuff. I said no. I just continued my treatment right there because I'm like, I'm protected by God. God, whatever God has for me is for me. But I saw that, and it played a pivotal role on your. It plays a pivotal role on your psyche, and then you understand it better. I actually saw somebody leave this earth from a disease that I have.
But you believe that was not going to be for you. Like you were not going to have the same fate as he did.
No, I never not once did think that I was not gonna make it. I believe because I trust God that much. You know what I mean? I trust God with everything in me. So I mean, whatever his will was to be, it was to be. If I did leave, it was his will. If I am to stay, I have to make an impact. So and I'm here, so I just think I'm gonna make an impact. I know I'm gonna make an impact. So I have a lot to say and I have a lot to tell people. But now, as far as your question asking me, did I ever think that I was going to leave? It crept in a little bit, but as far as like, nah, I couldn't think that way. I didn't have to think that way. But when it was the nights when I laid alone, I thought about it, and it was shocking to me. So yeah, I thought about it, and it scared the shit out of me, to be honest with you.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Earlier, you said that when you heard of the term, like when he's mentioned chemo, you had what went through your mind when you thought about the chemo treatments? Because you mentioned chemo. No. Explain that to me.
Well, I like to do a lot of, and I like anecdotal evidence. Evidence-based practice, anecdotal evidence research based upon clinical experience and stuff like that. And I have a friend who worked in oncology, cancer infusion, and I'm not gonna say the names, but she told me that almost every patient that will come through receiving chemo, didn't survive. Ultimately didn't have the best outcome. And like I said, personally, I have personal experience with that. people dying on me and stuff like that from cancer, not surviving, just them believing, you know, I can do this, I'm gonna beat this, I'm gonna get 100,000 treatments, go through all hell, and they don't make it. So I said, okay, that's because there's obviously something wrong with the medicine, the treatment of cancer. It's not working. But you also got other anecdotal evidence that says if you go holistic and natural, you have a better chance to beat anything. So I was more inclined for you to do that because the other stuff
was taking a toll on my body.
Right, yeah, and I know what it does. Ultimately, nobody survives, especially what you had. Like, you know, even if you see the medicine.
I've heard my nurses told me, my doctor told me.
Yeah.
They didn't think my doctor, my oncologist.
Did I answer that question?
my doctor even told me that you know, the stuff that she did to me, she wouldn't even, like, when she used to come in the back in the infusion center, she wouldn't even look at me because she knew what she had to do to me. She knew what she had to do to me and what she had to take me through in a short period of time that I had to you know, for her to do it. So I didn't understand it. I didn't know it. And I just used to look at it and I'm like, she didn't speak to me. I'm like, she see me sitting over here. I'm 300 pounds. Like, hello, 6'3", you can see me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But she wouldn't even look at me. But she would talk to my nurses, and my nurses didn't think that, you know, I, you know, had it either. But I remember this one lady, this older lady, was sitting in there with me. She told me, she said, "Look at your skin." She said, "Your skin's so beautiful." She said, "You're gonna be all right." She said, "You're gonna make it." But another time too, we had these we call them what we used to call them. Doomsday doctors or whatever. They were self-diagnosed. They're the ones that's in the group, and this is in our infusion group, that they knew everything and they knew everybody's cancer and their treatments for every cancer, and they were like Debbie Downers and tell them you're not gonna make it and stuff like that. So I had this group of women, man, with me, man. Let me tell you, how God blessed me and took me through and had my hand and guided me through everything. And I didn't acknowledge. I don't want people to think that it was me, but it was God. I leaned a lot on God for this whole situation, man. And when my mother taught me how to depend on God and to lean on God, that's when I really had to find him and search for him. He really had to, you know, I could tell it was a battle with God. I just surrendered everything to him and I let his will be done. And I told him, let your will be done. Whatever it is, I'm ready for whatever faith I had. With that being said, I had this group of ladies, man. They called them the Golden Girls. And it was my crew. And I used to, every day would save my chair for me. And I used to sit at the end of the chair at every chemo treatment. Like when you see me, I would have my little corner and they'll save it for me. And it was a group of about 4 ladies, and they would come in and they would be knitting, and one of them would be combing hair, and one of them would be, but they all have their music. We have music, and they rocking out, and they jamming, and they, you know, and then one week they're not there when I come back. The next week another one's not there when I come back, and the next week one of them's not there when I come back. So at the end, and one lady just totally gave up because of what the other lady told her. She was doing totally fine. 2 to 3 weeks, or you know, a month.
This is all right after COVID, right?
Yeah, this is all during COVID and after COVID.
Wow.
So you know, my treatments were during the pandemic, so it was during COVID. So I didn't have the support. But even with me, I tell you, I'm blessed. It was an exception for me everywhere I went because I always had, even in the infusion rooms, they would let my friend in with me to sit with me, and she would make sure that I was okay and that I didn't need anything. And if I was hungry, like people were eating like snacks and like little. So
wait, so the ladies who would encourage you, they told you would make it, but then they all died.
No, actually, this lady, this was one lady. She was an older lady.
Yeah.
And she didn't pass away, but her treatment, I guess, it was so much she would have to have a pack on her to have continuous medication on her. 24 to 48 hours until her next treatment. She needed medication pumped in her all that time. Mm-hmm. So she was pretty bad. She survived a couple times. And so she told me what I had, it was rare. It was into older people get it, not younger people. So, but she made out okay. But the other ladies who was in my crew, was in my group, in my setting, because I had this little group of ladies, that was in my setting, you know, who was in my, you know, in my space. We had five to six of us. And all of those started dropping off. But by the time I was the only one left out of the crew, so to speak. By the time I finished all my treatments, I was the only one left. But the last lady quit because of what somebody else told her. You know what I mean? She was doing well, but she just told her, you just might as well just give up because it's no. And so, well, she told me that the same thing too. She said, there's no cure for your disease. You're gonna end up dying anyway. So
the patient said that?
Yes. Yes. So my nurse ended up moving her to the other side of it.
Yeah, so, you gotta go.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, Lord, you said something about cultural aspects.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, culturally, hate to go there, but it is what it is. Black culture teaches toxic masculine, toxic feminine. So you can't say ouch if something hurts. You can't render or show weakness if you're vulnerable. You can't show that. It's perpetuated by men and women. So that's culturally. It seems like with us, we're not taught to express how we feel. You know, or something. Like he basically said he was going crazy in a way, you know, but he couldn't just go and scream, I'm crazy, because they're gonna say he's crazy, you know.
Well, then again, like it hurt, man. Like I've never experienced pain like that, and like even like from football and previous surgeries and stuff like that. It was something like, I'll be honest with you, man. It was something that I don't wish on anybody, man, and I don't wish on any worst enemy or anybody like that. But it was just my older brother told me he had a pancreatic cancer and he had stuff, and he was like my Yoda. I call him my Yoda. Is Rick? Shout out to Rick. He's tougher than me.
How often y'all talked about you and Rick? Like y'all would discuss
every day. He's my coach. He would tell me if I'm hurting what to eat. You know, he's the one when I had doing chemo when I lost all my taste and I couldn't eat nothing. I couldn't.
Mind you, again, Rick is his brother.
Yeah, that's my older brother. Yeah, so that's my dog, and he like I said, he's my Yoda. Like he's the one that coached me to it. He's the one that gave me the title. Like he told me when I gave him my diagnosis and I told him what was going on. He told me, well, he called me. He said, man, let me tell you something. He said, welcome to your new life. And I said, new life? What do you mean? And he said, you'll see. He said, ain't nothing will be the same ever again. He said, everything as you know it will change and it will be different. Everything you remember or when you remember doing, it would be totally different. You'd have to adjust to everything. So
was
it's
his
like
advice accurate? Was it helpful?
On the spot, everything he told me, and he was able to walk me through it. And again, that's how blessed I was, because I had his surgery. We had the same surgery for. He had pancreatic cancer. He had to have the Whipple surgery, 21-hour surgery.
Saved his life. The Whipple procedure has a 3%, 5% survival rate for under 5 years.
And he's been since the surgery. It's been 10 years, going on 10 years. And God bless it, fixed the soul that he gave me his same surgeon. And he told me, he said, like I said, when it was times for me to eat stuff, like I couldn't eat, he would tell me what to eat, so it'll help me hold down. He would tell me get smoothies from Smoothie King, get the Hulk, and get watermelon smoothies and stuff like that. And he'll tell me, like, when I had neuropathy on my feet from chemo, and feel like pins and needles are just sticking me everywhere, and I couldn't even move. It was hard to pass bowels. It was hard to urinate. It was hard
like
to
everything. Prepared you for the treatment.
Yeah. He would tell me put Vicks Vapor Rub under my feet. He would tell me what to eat.
See, I may be a nurse, but two things. I work ICU, so I'm specialized in oncology, number one, and then number two, I've never received chemo and gone through that myself, so I can understand why he was a better. As far as like to feel, you know, like every day, he lived in your skin, you know. Yeah, that's perfect.
Literally, yeah. So that was a blessing in that sense to have him go before me, and I seen the fight and the struggle that he had, and I think that even our stage 4, you know, I just think that the surgery that
mind you, had, never told me he was stage 4.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
they never told me. We stumbled across that information.
And see, I'm a nurse, so based upon what I read, the information that I gathered, I couldn't make a diagnosis and say, "Oh, you got cancer," because I'm not the doctor to say that. So that's why I shut up.
Yeah.
You know, not
And I
stage
just wanna-
4.
and everything that you guys are sharing is so pivotal. But as we get ready to just wrap up the podcast, there are a few questions that came through that I wanted that were repetitive. So I want to ask, Lord, they were actually directed to you, Lord, as far as you mentioned holistic as well as just doctor authorized care.
Western medicine.
Western medicine.
Westernized.
What's your recommendation like for those individuals who are at this point suffering from the disease? Like, do you have any recommendations for them?
Recommendations. I'm gonna say, okay. In my opinion, I would advise, based upon literature, to try to go natural. To try to do natural, switch your diet to natural food. You can still do it. I can't tell you what to do. I would do whatever I can do to save myself. But first thing, change your diet to alkaline ash, like an alkaline diet, or paleo. You know, something that keeps your system alkaline, at a more basic alkaline state, which is the immune system functions optimally when you're eating a lot of vegetables. So that's what I would suggest. Go vegetarian.
Okay, and we see Mr. Janu who is not in. So of course, did you change your diet based on the suggestions that Mr. Lloyd made?
No.
No.
So in other words, what you're saying is that you have to do what works for you.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
And I said the same thing. I told him, hey, dude, how you feel? You know.
Right. My biggest thing, I couldn't eat anyway, so my whole taste buds and everything. But what I could eat was fried chicken, and that's what I love to eat. So, speaking of that, I remember my cousin. Shout out to my cousin for bringing some Harris fried chicken for me. He came. My cousin flew down from
Part of the problem. Part of the resistance.
He flew down from Cali to come down and hang out with me, man. And I used to tell him about everything that was going on at my chemo treatments, and he was like, well, did they do this and did they do that? And I'm like, cuz I really don't know what they do. He's like, well, bump it, man. I'm coming. I'm like, yeah, right, you coming. Yeah, you coming, whatever.
But that also plays a part in addressing the support system. So for a family member to fly in from California to not only double check your medication, double check your nursing and your doctor staff, but then to provide you with some nourishment based on your choice of dietary need.
Well, they say the mind is the first. The healing starts here in your mind. Mm-hmm. So if your mind is vexed and unhinged, then there's no way you're gonna heal. Right. Anyway, they can give you anything.
And he came in like the gangbuster, man. He was cleaning stuff. All my capsules he'll take. He was like, I said, what are you doing? He said, oh, nothing, because he'll take the alcohol thing and clean all the things on the chemo things that's going. He said, we can't have you getting no infections. You can't have you getting. All the nurses were impressed and they loved it. They said, hey man, you need a job here. They said, he's like, nah, y'all don't pay enough. He was like, so, but he came and he made me happy. Like I said, he went and got me some Harris fried chicken, man, and everybody was looking at me like, how can you eat this? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm blessed. I just eat. I don't know, but I ate that, and I don't know, how did I look to you? Did it look like I was any different when you came and you saw me?
No.
And you came and we talked and we had conversations and stuff like that.
No, you good. You good spirits and everything.
Yeah. So
good spirits. Eating the chicken. I said, damn, you ate the chicken anyway, huh?
Yeah. With French fries, which I don't eat no more. I don't eat fried foods no more. So, but I just had to get that fix going.
But see, one can say that because you're a former athlete, mm-hmm. So your system would be different. You different on the inside than someone who never jumped the broom. So would you say that the fact that you were already athletic that played a part in your recovery?
Absolutely. Because it was like another rehab for me. That's how I approached it. But it did take.
Catch that, yo.
But it did. It felt like my soul was snatched. You know what I mean? Literally after. It was just like after surgery. It felt as if my soul left my body, and I was just looking down at my body, so to speak, and like a shell. It was like a shell, to be honest with you. So it took me a while, as we say, shake back or to get back to the simple things and stuff like that. So
Wow.
So you feel like when you got the treatments, they shocked you, like, psh.
Well, it was the whole process, the rushing of it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because they slammed the whole.
Yeah, it was fast.
They slammed from what my doctor said, they slammed like what 2.5, 3 years worth of treatment into like 4 months, 5 months.
Wow. All of that that's amazing.
Yeah.
But what I want to do is we're going to go ahead and pause right here because that's a lot to talk about and it's a lot to digest. So when you say it was like a shell of who you were, we're going to talk about that. But they're going to have to stay tuned for the next podcast.
Okay, cool.
You see what I'm saying?
Because you can include that when you're giving people advice about, sometimes you got to leave old stuff and step into the new thing and shock, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So I just want to say, hey, thank you guys for coming and talking. And listen, you got to tune into the next podcast to learn more about this.
And this was the first one. And we'll have more for you. It was filling out processing. We'll get better. And I have Cuz on again to give you some more insights about what happened.
Yeah, we might have a segment.
We're going to give y'all some scientific facts.
Yes, Ask
next
Nurse
time.
Lloyd.
That's right. We'll have a segment called Ask Nurse Lloyd.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining.
So you see, hold on, wait. One thing. If we have a segment with Ask Nurse Lloyd, and if they have questions, they can send the questions in and we'll get them over to him. And he can answer them and, get back to you. We want to make this as interactive and as fun as it can because it's not a death sentence. It's not a death sentence, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. And you can have a new life afterwards.